The other thing I want to mention in regards to some of his analyses is how, I think you mentioned it in a comment you were there, of how sometimes it brings the right brain to a left brain pursuit. But that's not a bad thing in the sense, because of his analysis sort of brings out different ideas that can kind of cycle around and move the art into a more analytical sense, as opposed to the visceral impact that most art contains. Do you think that there is a value in deconstructing things down to its smallest atom and kind of getting the tiny moments? You know, Shakespeare is a good example of this, where every single word of his I've read in some textbooks is analyzed to T. Or do you think that it should be appreciated just as what it is and not analyzed to such an extent? I recall you once mentioning how Yellow Afternoon is such a poem that you could spend pages and pages on, but you wouldn't really see the point because it's its own best answer.
Well, I mean, critically, I would say no. Historically, there's some merit to it, but this is one of the things that most critics fuck up, is that a historical criticism, or say if you're doing a Marxist critique, or a feminist critique, or a gay critique, or a Judaic critique, or a Pan-African critique, these things get to be kind of silly, because to bring up, just to use the most common one, to bring a Marxist critique to the poems of Lorin Neidecker, these little poems about this granny poet who wrote about little animals, is utterly absurd. So you have to know when to apply things correctly. The new critics who said, you look at the art and forget about the biography, are in the main right. History has proven them right. The problem with them is that these people often overlooked minority artists and whatnot, so they didn't necessarily practice an open-mindedness that they should have, but their overall method, by and large, is correct. Knowing, for example, if you were to read True Life or to watch any of these videos, knowing that I did A, B, or C in the approximate time frame that I wrote X, Y, or Z may or may not help you understand a little bit of something. If I was, for example, bisexual, I'm heterosexual, but if I was bisexual, would that make my writing about the two main characters of The Edge of the Shown any different? Maybe, but if you look at a book like In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, does the fact that he was a homosexual have any bearing on that book? I'd say clearly not. I mean, maybe if he had written about Leopold and Loeb, the two homosexual thrill killers from the 1920s who were apparently lovers, that might have a minor component to it. But, this gets back to identity art, and why it's so silly is that, I don't take a piss like a white man. I mean, I take a piss like a man, not a woman, but I don't piss any differently than an Arab is going to piss. I'm going to put the penis between the fingers and let go. I don't fart, as someone who's half Norwegian, I don't fart nautically. I probably fart the same way that a Bushman farts, or an Iroquois Indian descendant. I don't. If I have an itch, I don't scratch atheistically. These kinds of things are silly. These are silly critiques to bring to things, and I think a lot of this stuff is going to look absolutely absurd. But if you want to parse down every word of a Norwegian in the family, good luck. And I certainly give a lot of stuff out there, but you end up with some of these bad criticisms that abstract expressionists bore, or that the people who masturbate over James Joyce's stuff bear. And it's kind of silly. But if you want to do it, go ahead. You might turn over one interesting clamshell on a whole beach of 10,000 clamshells, but the rest of them are just going to be clamshells. So if you want that one clamshell that still that says something about where the rest of these clams came from, maybe you pursue it. But it's probably not going to tell you a lot about clamminess.